Hitler didn't kill himself in a bunker in Berlin as the Red Army closed in. I think that's, we all know that was a fabricated story, or if you watch the show, you probably understand that. Hitler actually fled Germany weeks before that using a group of underground tunnels that led to an airstrip. And that airstrip was flown. He was flown from Berlin out. It took submarines, or multiple submarines that were used, U-boats that were then sent to Argentina.
Clayton Morris and other really great investigative journalists have already been researching and looking into, did Hitler at the end of World War II go to Argentina? And Argentina was their main backup base of operations in the world. Klaus Barbie, Joseph Mengele, all of them on record went there. There were famous movies made about it with Gregory Peck, the boys from Brazil. We know 30,000+ Nazis were shipped over by the OSS, the precursor to the CIA, in the rat line from Germany to the United States to set up NASA and so many other agencies, and to be hired by the CIA because they were, quote, experts on the Russians and their growing Soviet empire for the Cold War that was really already starting before World War II really ended. Patton wanted to actually join the Nazis and defeat the Russians. One reason it's been reported that he was assassinated. But we now have Milei of Argentina saying he's going to declassify all of this in the next few days. And there are big German castles that were built. There were whole Nazi communities there. There's no doubt that was the Nazi base. There's no doubt they found a bunch of sunken German submarines when the Germans would get there and then sink them to hide the evidence. I don't know if Hitler lived after World War II. I respect the investigative journalist out there. I respect, films and books that have been written about it. There was certainly a major Nazi presence there. The only other bigger one after World War II would be the United States. And that was kind of their base of operations and a deal they had. So there was definitely a precedent set to protect Nazis for secrets. But the Nazis also hid the equivalent of trillions today in gold and artwork, and reportedly told British intelligence and others where it was hidden for part of that deal with the United States as well. But Hitler was gassed twice in World War I. Hitler had Parkinson's. Hitler had a lot of medical issues. Hitler constantly, according to his own valet and others that were trusted sources, also Albert Speer, constantly, Rudolf Hess, constantly talked about committing suicide and was obsessed with it. And we know that Joseph Goebbels, they did find his dead body and his wife and his kids. Reportedly, Hitler got burned up. It's true that the so-called Russian skull was a woman's skull. That's been admitted. Stalin talked about Hitler still being alive. So I tend to think that he might have escaped by a submarine. There's definitely their main base was there in Argentina. We're going to find out in the next few days as the president of Argentina says he's going to release this information. I can't wait to hear it. But what I do know is the EU was a project of Hitler, his idea. Hell, the modern Olympics, the Volkswagen. He drew and came with the original Olympic ring idea, the symbol of the Olympics. And he had a huge effect on things. He wanted to put Edward VIII, the King of England, on the throne of an EU if the Nazis would have won. So he may have survived. It may be true. We're supposedly about to find out about that. But so many times we treat these government documents, though, like they're gospel. I told people when the Kennedy assassination stuff was going to come out that I bet a lot of it was the original investigation files. Well, when the FBI is doing a cover-up, the raw investigation files are the cover-up. So many times the so-called investigation, though most of it is redacted because the sources, ends up just being an establishment narrative, though we have found some really interesting information in the files that were released. But about a third of them, the Trump order, were not released, and we're yet to hear why that happened. I mean, I believe they just countermanded the orders of Trump as they've done many, many times. Certainly Trump was not involved in the Kennedy assassination. And certainly the new documents implicate Israel to a great extent. So I think if Trump was going to be covering something up, he's certainly been allied with Israel, he would do that. But no, I mean, Trump is a good man and wants the truth to come out. I'm not saying Israel was alone involved, but Israel was involved with the whole CIA globalist system. They all are. And so when you're going to have a killing of a president, you're going to get all the major groups involved in the power structure to be involved so they can't blackmail each other. That's part of the Roman Senate and the famous killing of Caesar, where they got all the senators involved, where they all had to join in on the stabbing so that they were all equally in on it, so they all had to stick together. So that's a lot of the things that happen with corruption. Just like when the Israelis tried to sink the USS Liberty to blame Egypt, LBJ was in on it. When the aircraft carriers launched planes to try to go save the Liberty, which did still survive, the most decorated ship in U.S. history, he got on the phone or the radio link to the head of the aircraft carrier, Admiral, and said, I want that goddamn ship on the bottom. No one has interviewed more Liberty survivors, including judge advocate generals that weren't survivors but were there at the secret trial of it, than yours truly. I produced the film Fabled Enemies. That's still the masterwork on the subject and is free here online on X. I've seen people post it. In fact, I think we posted it. We should post it again underneath this report as well. But very, very, very interesting. And I would like to see what happens once Milei releases it. But I still am going to have questions unless they dig up his dead body and then it gets DNA tested publicly. And because I wouldn't even trust a lot of these big companies and people and groups that are out there. They reportedly sired more children, all the rest of it. Here's the full breakdown report on it. And in the coming days, we'll be getting into all of this. But what's incontrovertible is between 33,000 and 36,000 high-level Nazis at every level were taken in to the United States and, again, put in at every level of our government right at the end of World War II. And that is an indisputed fact and a reality. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure and follow me right here on Real Alex Jones. And please watch the live show every weekday, 11 a.m. Central.
You are like me and you are utterly interested in history, but you don't trust the mainstream version of it, then you're going to love this. Argentina to declassify Nazi archives, but did Hitler escape there too? And then I'm going to show you this decades-old FBI document that you probably haven't seen before. I hadn't seen it before this, or maybe I had, but I didn't really do any digging and do anything to, confirm that this document was legitimate and actually published in government archives. I'm going to show you that document that says Hitler was landed in Argentina at approximately June 20th, 1945, and his face was disfigured. In a move both hailed and questioned, Argentine President Javier Milei has ordered the full declassification of secret government files related to Nazis who fled to Argentina after World War II, along with archives from the country's own military dictatorship. The promise of disclosure follows a broader global trend towards transparency, including the U.S. government's recent release of long classified files related to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, documents that for decades were withheld from public under claims of national security. National security, that's like a special buzzword that means we're not going to tell you. But with reports of 5,000 Nazis escaping to South America, including top convicted war criminals like Adolf Eichmann and Joseph Mengele, some are asking more explosive questions like, did Hitler himself survive the war and escape to Argentina? This is utterly, utterly intriguing. Cabinet Chief Guillermo Francos confirmed that Milei's order, made after meeting with U.S. Senator Steve Daines, applies to all Nazi-related documents across state agencies, including defense ministry files and financial records long shrouded in secrecy. President Milei has ordered the publication and declassification of the archives, Francos said. These files concern Nazis who sought refuge in Argentina and were protected for many years. These are historical documents that should be accessible to the public. There is no reason to continue safeguarding that information, he added. These are archives of a part of Argentine history, and they have to be public. The move also revives a long-held claim, dismissed by mainstream historians, but not by everyone, that Adolf Hitler didn't die in Berlin in 1945, but instead fled via Spain and ended up living out his days under protection in South America. Now, the escape route nobody was supposed to talk about. Historians have documented the escape of high-profile Nazis to Argentina. Eichmann was captured by Israeli Mossad agents in Buenos Aires in 1960. Mengele died decades later under a false identity in Brazil. So why wouldn't the same network that protected them also protect Hitler? That's the question Argentine journalist and author Abel Basti has spent his career trying to answer. In books like Hitler in Exile and Hitler in Argentina, Basti argues that Hitler escaped through a tunnel under Berlin to Tempelhof Airport, fled to Spain, then traveled by submarine to Argentina, where he lived with SS support and the help of sympathetic German immigrants. He cites declassified FBI reports, which I'm going to show you in a second, alleged sightings in Patagonia, and photos he claims show Hitler was with known Nazi sympathizers in Argentina. The Eden Hotel in La Falda, a hotspot for Nazi activity in the mid-20th century, is at the center of many of these claims. Basti believes Hitler stayed there with Walter and Ida Eichhorn, well-known Nazi loyalists who ran the property. U.S. intel files from the era include dozens of unverified tips about Hitler sightings across South America. Now, Malay's declassification order may allow researchers and skeptics to comb through those files firsthand. Now, the really interesting stuff. FBI document reveals escape rumors after Hitler's death. National Archives. As part of a National Archives blog titled Hunting Hitler, 2 FBI reports released in 2015 revisit mysterious rumors from 1945 suggesting Hitler escaped to Argentina. One report sent from Buenos Aires on July 14th, 1945, claimed that a source of unknown reliability said Hitler was landed in Argentina approximately June 20th, that his face was disfigured, and that an Argentine army major was preparing to escort him to a secret hiding place in Chaco territory. The report added, all rumors being investigated. And here's the file right here. You can see here, declassified authority NND 32386. And if you scroll down, you see it's from Buenos Aires. You've even got a timestamp here, 11/12. German submarine landings on Argentina coast, various rumors. And then down here, where does it get to Hitler? Right here, another report received from source of unknown reliability that Hitler was landed in Argentina approximately June 20, that his face was disfigured, and that Argentine army major will escort Hitler to secret hiding place in Chaco territory. All rumors being investigated. So this is a legitimate document. This was reported even by Boston Globe, and here's the headline. Documents show FBI fielding escape rumors after Hitler's death. Here's the document they list here. So this is where I get this portion of the report from, but you can see this is in mainstream reports. This isn't something that we're making up. There was a second document dated August 14 from the FBI in Los Angeles that recounted a claim made by a Hollywood actor who said that a man at a club told him he had a tremendous problem that was bothering him. That man allegedly said he was one of 4 men who met Hitler and his party when they landed from submarines in Argentina 2.5 weeks after the fall of Berlin. Both of these documents appear in Hunting Hitler Part 7, The Search Continues, June through September 1945, authored by none other than National Archives historian Greg Bradsher. But Argentina wasn't the only one harboring Nazis. It's worth noting that Argentina was, again, not alone in sheltering Nazi officials. The United States government, yes, the United States, through a covert program most of you should know about called Operation Paperclip, smuggled more than 1,600 German scientists, engineers, and technicians into the country after the war. Many of these individuals had direct ties to the Nazi regime, and some were connected with war crimes. One of the most famous paperclip recruits was Werner von Braun, former SS officer and architect of the Nazi V-2 rocket program, who later became a leading figure in NASA's Apollo program. U.S. intelligence scrubbed their records and gave them new lives in American institutions of research, military development, and space exploration. If the U.S., this is the question, was willing to overlook these Nazi actions in the name of national interest, it raises the question, and here it is: how many other countries did the same thing, and what information still hasn't been revealed? So is this a public stunt or a historical breakthrough? Critics argue the announcement is little more than political theater. The libertarian government there in Argentina has already laid off many of the archivists and staff who would handle the release. So who's going to do it? Opposition leaders asked. The announcements are pure demagogy, one local outlet reported. Milei made the announcement last week on Argentina's National Day of Memory, Truth, and Justice, a holiday marking the start of the country's 1976 through 1983 military dictatorship. His administration also vowed to declassify intelligence files from that era, saying, telling the whole story is a crucial task. Yet the most consequential revelations may not be about Argentina's dictatorship, but what the country knew about one of the darkest chapters in world history, and when. So is this fringe, fiction, or classified fact? Mainstream historians like Richard J. Evans utterly rejects the Hitler theory, the Hitler escape theory, as fiction. People like him will point to forensic evidence like Hitler's dental remains, which match his known records and were confirmed in 2018 by a French-led team examining Soviet archives. Still, questions remain. Why did U.S. intelligence keep thousands of pages of Nazi-related sightings and investigations classified for decades? Why did Argentina offer safe haven to so many convicted war criminals? And why, nearly 80 years later, does the full story remain locked in government vaults? Whether the release of Argentina's Nazi files will finally put the escape theory to rest or breathe new life into it remains to be seen. But for the first time in decades, the files may finally see daylight. And if Milei makes good on his promise, the world may discover just how deep the rabbit hole goes.